Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. Royal split exposed. Charles, Anne, and Andrew finally reveal why Prince Philip chose life away from the Queen. According to an interview, the children of Prince Philip have revealed the truth about his last years apart from the Queen, as reported in the headline, "A Royal Separation." The consistent image of unity and dedication to the crown that Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, presented to the world for more than 7 decades and a half. The alliance that they formed in the aftermath of the war and put to the test by the enormous strains of public life was the solid anchorage of the British monarchy. However, in his latter years, Prince Philip made a decision that came as a surprise to everyone. He decided to resign from his official responsibilities and live apart from the Queen by himself. The passage of time has allowed their children, King Charles III, Princess Anne, and Prince Andrew, to provide fresh perspectives on the many reasons that led to this choice. These children are revealing a narrative that is far more sophisticated than a straightforward decision to withdraw from public view. How did Prince Philip come to the conclusion that he needed to put some space between himself and Elizabeth during the last stages of their historic union, an unspoken agreement between two individuals who understood their respective positions more than anybody else? A lifetime of personal sacrifice and a restless spirit are all necessary components for the solution. That which serves as the cornerstone of a historic union. A marriage that traversed a continuously altering global environment and the tremendous obligations of monarchy. Elizabeth and Philip's love story lasted an amazing 73 years, making them one of the most lasting couples in the history of dating and marriage. The children of the couple, on the other hand, have made efforts to shed light on the less well-known aspects of their relationship which contribute to the breakdown of their marriage. Both of them were unable to completely appreciate the significance of their future fates when their narrative first started. Princess Marina of Greece and Denmark, Philip's cousin, married Elizabeth's uncle, the Duke of Kent, in 1934. This was the first time that they came into contact with one another. Princess Elizabeth, who was just 13 years old at the time, became completely enthralled with Philip, a naval cadet, who was 18 years old during a visit to the Royal Naval College in Dartmouth in 1939. This occurred 5 years after the first meeting. It was his athletic talent that left an indelible mark on the young princess. He was famed for his youthful boldness when he leapt over tennis nets, and this act absolutely captured her attention. Even though they were separated by the distance that was forced on them by their royal responsibilities and the impending Second World War, they continued to communicate with one another via writing. The vivacious personality that Philip had was a fantastic match for Elizabeth's own, yet he was 5 years Elizabeth's senior. As a striking contrast to the formal courtiers that surrounded Elizabeth, his irreverent sense of humor and refreshingly direct style of speaking were attributes that Elizabeth found to be quite alluring. Their journey toward a romantic relationship, however, was not without of challenges. After his family was forced to leave Greece while he was a youngster, Philip, who was a prince of both Greece and Denmark, underwent a great amount of adversity. As a consequence of this, key members of the British royal family and the government had the opinion that he was not an appropriate candidate for the position of the future queen. He was not wealthy financially and did not have important contacts in the British government. Furthermore, his German ancestry was a source of anxiety in Britain after the war. The determination that Elizabeth had was unwavering, notwithstanding these uncertainties. Although they did not reveal their engagement until after she turned 21 the following year, Philip made his proposal to her during the summer of 1946, and she accepted without any hesitation. The individuals who are close to the pair have often said that Elizabeth was completely and absolutely enamored with him. For his side, Philip was adamant on marrying the lady he loved, and he refused to allow any obstacles prevent them from spending the rest of their lives together. The beginning of a love tale that would go on to become famous was characterized by this resolve. Westminster Abbey was the location of their wedding, which took place on November 18, 1947. It was the first royal wedding to be aired on television, and it captured the interest of millions of people all around the globe. The ceremony was a great and beautiful occasion that helped to elevate the emotions of a country that was still grieving the wounds of Globe War II. Philip made a significant amount of personal sacrifices in order to be at Elizabeth's side. His mother's family name, Mountbatten, was anglicized, and he became a naturalized British subject. He also abandoned his Greek and Danish royal titles, converted from Greek Orthodoxy to Anglicanism, and became a naturalized British national. The title of Duke of Edinburgh was bestowed upon him on the day of his wedding. Philip was in the midst of a difficult road of adjustment behind the scenes of their wedding, which was a sign of optimism and stability for the happy couple. In contrast to Philip, who had to negotiate the complex and sometimes suffocating world of the British court on the fly, Elizabeth was already well versed in the norms and expectations of royal life beforehand, since he was adjusting to a life that was increasingly characterized by his wife's huge obligations. The early days of their marriage were a mixture of genuine happiness and underlying stress. A peek at the typical situation, while considering the importance of the crown. At the beginning of their relationship, the couple had a time of relative tranquility and normality. At the time, Philip was serving as a naval officer in the Mediterranean Fleet of the Royal Navy, and the couple made their home in Malta from 1949 to 1951. Both of them enjoyed these months because they were a period of time when they could live a life that was somewhat normal, away from the harsh procedures of the palace. Their existence as a young married couple was facilitated by the fact that they were able to participate in activities such as dances, dinner parties, and trips to the beach during this time period. In February of 1952, everything would shift in an irreversible way. The news that Elizabeth's father, King George VI, had died away was delivered to them when they were attending a royal tour in Kenya. As soon as Elizabeth became queen, her life and their relationship underwent a dramatic transformation. She was just 25 years old at the time. The promising naval career of Philip was cut short, and he once again had to adjust this time to the uncertain and unusual position of consort to a reigning female king. Both of these roles were new to him. A significant amount of tension was brought on by this fundamental adjustment in their dynamic. This new post, which came with no clear constitutional definition or defined norms, apparently made it difficult for Philip to reconcile his personal desires with his new position. Although they gave the impression of being strong and dedicated to the crown when they were in public, their lives within the walls of the palace were in reality far more complicated. It was a marriage of profound love, but it also included two persons who were strong-willed and had personalities that were separate from one another. The Queen was noted for her more conservative and restrained demeanor, which sometimes contrasted with Philip's outspoken personality and rebellious tendency. Philip was known for his outspoken temperament. Moments of tension sometimes occurred despite the fact that they normally handled these disagreements in private. Philip's restlessness and his deep-seated yearning for a more clearly defined mission, which led to furious debates within the royal family, have been discussed by those who are within the royal family. Elizabeth, however, placed a high value on his honesty and independence, since she was aware that he was one of the few individuals who would not just submit to her authority. Both of them were aware that their personal connection was ultimately secondary to their public responsibility, and their relationship was characterized by a delicate balance of mutual respect-love and the odd heated quarrel. Their son, King Charles, was there throughout this dynamic and experienced it up close. His father's distinctive and at times intimidating approach to parenting, as well as his mother's unflinching commitment to her duty, were the primary influences on his youth, as he has described it. He remembers times when there was a lot of love and joy, but he also reflects on the difficulties that come with living a royal life. Despite the fact that Charles appreciated his father's sense of responsibility and commitment, which he saw reflected in his mother, Philip was portrayed by Charles as a forceful figure who was severe and at times scary. He has constructed a picture of a family in which Philip's exuberant laughter would reverberate throughout the premises, serving as a contrast to the Queen's presence, which was more subdued and soothing. Charles was reared mostly by nannies, as is the case with many royal children. Nonetheless, his parents had a significant impact on his development. He understood the strains that were being placed on their relationship, but he also recognized the unwavering love that had helped them to overcome the obstacles that they had faced throughout their lives. Rumors, tenacity, and an unspoken agreement are all present. Their marriage was confronted with unanticipated challenges as a result of the enormous demands that came with living a royal lifestyle. Philip's position as consort placed him in a constitutionally ambiguous position. While he did not have any official power, he exerted a large amount of influence, which was a difficult situation for a guy who was used to being in charge. According to the reports, this irritation sometimes shone itself in his personal life, which resulted in difficulties. There were stories that circulated in the 1950s that linked Prince Philip to the renowned Russian dancer Galina Ulanova. These claims were not supported by any evidence. Although it was never shown that this affair really took place, it was believed to have caused the foundations of their marriage to be undermined. Ulanova was a prominent member of the Bolshoi Ballet and was renowned across the Soviet Union for her stunning beauty and exceptional ability. Within royal circles, as well as in the British press, the rumor machine went into overdrive, which fueled suspicion. The fact that these tales were spread during the Cold War gave them an especially powerful impact. Concerns about the nation's security may have been raised if there had been a possible connection between a senior member of the British royal family and a prominent citizen of the Soviet Union. There were rumors that the administration was trying to cover up something in order to protect the monarchy from controversy. No matter whether or not they were true, these tales left an unforgettable impression. However, her strong sense of duty triumphed according to sources close to the family, despite the fact that the Queen was terribly affected by the charges. As a tactic that would come to characterize her approach to dealing with personal concerns in the public glare, she chose to maintain a dignified quiet rather than openly confront the reports. On several occasions, their second son, Prince Andrew, has defended his father against allegations of adultery, including those that have been made against him. Philip has been depicted by him in interviews as a guy who is devoted to his family, has principles that cannot be questioned, and is deeply loyal to the Queen and the institution that she represents. Even though Andrew was adamant in his defense, the specter of these decades-old tales continued to linger. The couple's relationship was put to the test, according to royal watchers, despite the fact that they stayed together without wavering. Rather than lingering on their individual complaints, Elizabeth and Philip seem to have reached an unwritten agreement through which they focused their efforts on their united dedication to the crown, the Wood Farm retirement, and the beginning of a new way of life. In 2017, Prince Philip, who was 96 years old at the time, officially withdrew from his royal responsibilities, marking the beginning of the ultimate phase of separation. He expressed a yearning for a more peaceful living, away from the unrelenting pressures of public life after decades of giving his whole attention to the public. This choice brought him to Wood Farm, a house on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk that was characterized by its lack of grandeur but its warmth and coziness. His last years were spent here, where he was mostly shielded from the gaze of the public, and most notably aside from Queen Elizabeth. His decision to migrate was not a spur-of-the-moment whim, but rather thoroughly deliberated upon move that was addressed secretly inside the family. A collective choice born of practicalities and a wish for both of his parents to spend their last years as pleasantly as possible. King Charles has said that it was a decision that was made by both himself and his parents. They reasoned that although this arrangement would let the Queen to perform her responsibilities as ruler without any interruptions, it would also provide Philip with the freedom that he had long desired. Charles spoke on the reasoning for the move, highlighting the fact that his parents have a profound grasp of the roles that they play in their lives. Charles has said, "I think he's a great man, my father," and he has also mentioned that the distance between them was a natural progression of their relationship over time. With Philip's free-spirited personality and his deep affection for the environment, Wood Farm became the perfect place to find refuge. From that vantage point, he was liberated from the stuffy conventions of Buckingham Palace, allowing him to indulge in his interests for painting, reading, and automobile driving. Nevertheless, palace insiders have dropped hints about other variables that may have contributed. In light of the fact that Philip was getting on in years, there were some reports that stated the severe security measures at Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle had become restrictive for him. His independent attitude was allegedly irritated by the continuous presence of the Queen's security as well as the rigorous rituals. Escape from this highly regulated workplace was provided by Wood Farm, which was very much appreciated. A more clear picture was provided by Princess Anne, who played down any drama that may have occurred. The decision that her father made was portrayed by her as a question of personal taste, which was a reasonable move for a guy who was in his late 90s. It was a time of his life, she commented, adding that it was just about his wanting to enjoy his retirement on his own terms. It was a phase of his life, she said, a final gathering and a legacy that will last forever. Following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic at the beginning of the year 2020, an unexpected reunion took place. In order to create a safe bubble, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip went into lockdown together at Windsor Castle. This period provided them with the opportunity to spend more quality time together than they had in years, which was a touching conclusion to their lengthy narrative. During this period, King Charles was able to see a lovely reunion between his parents. He recalled times of peaceful reflection that they had together on their remarkable life together. Despite the fact that his health was deteriorating, Philip's signature sense of humor continued to be present, which served to soothe the Queen as they confronted the unavoidable. During the month of April in the year 2021, Prince Philip died away, which was a significant loss for both the family and the country. Through his words, Prince Andrew expressed that it was a time filled with profound sorrow, but also with enormous pride, highlighting the remarkable legacy that his father had left behind. During the conversation, Princess Anne provided a very moving glimpse into the psyche of her father. A last discussion that she remembers was one in which he made it quite clear that he did not desire sorrow, but rather a celebration of a life that had been lived to the fullest. She was of the opinion that this exemplified his nature, which was both pragmatic and forward-looking. Despite the fact that she was a symbol of enormous public power, the Queen felt the weight of his absence in private. She took comfort in the knowledge that Philip had lived his final years, as he wished, stated friends of the family. The pandemic had granted them a final precious period of togetherness, claimed friends of the family. Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth did not have a breakdown in their marriage. Rather, they had a complicated and contemporary arrangement that was founded on love obligation and a great awareness of each other's requirements. This is the reason behind why they lived apart. It was the climax of a lifelong engagement in which personal aspirations were often sacrificed for the crown. In the end, a mutual arrangement was established to allow for peace, independence, and a dignified finish to one of the most significant royal love stories in the history of the world. A conspiracy involving Diana. The ways in which recent reports of William and Harry's doubts have reopened wounds. Concerning the death of Princess Diana. Over a quarter of a century has passed since the terrible death of Diana. Princess of Wales and the circumstances surrounding her passing have been cloaked in a cloud of sorrow, mystery, and persistent conspiracy theories. a public that regarded Diana as a victim of forces that were far bigger than a reckless pursuit through a Parisian tunnel, has never been completely happy with the official story, which describes her as a drunk driver who was attempting to escape from an aggressive paparazzi. Now, in a turn of events that has sent shockwaves through the very foundations of the British establishment, reports have emerged suggesting that her own sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, have privately acknowledged the uneasiness that has long haunted their mother's legacy, that her death on August 31, 1997, may have been more than a tragic accident, hinting at the chilling possibility of an inside job. This is a development that has sent shockwaves through the very foundations of the British establishment. This alleged move from the princes has rekindled a painful discourse all around the world, compelling a re-examination of the facts, the reasons, and the influential persons who may have wanted the people's princess to be silenced for good. The official version of events and the beginnings of uncertainty. Starting from the time the news broke, it seemed that the official narrative for Diana's death was being formed at an alarmingly rapid pace. It was swiftly determined that the deadly accident that occurred in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris, which also resulted in the deaths of her companion Dodi Fayed and the driver Henri Paul, was caused by a cocktail of factors including excessive speed, alcohol consumption, and the continuous chase of photographers on motorbikes. Both the ensuing French inquiry and the subsequent British inquest, which was referred to as Operation Paget, came to the conclusion that Paul was driving under the influence of alcohol and prescription medicines, which led to his losing control of the Mercedes. Skepticism among the general people continued to be widespread in spite of these official results, which were exacerbated by a number of unsettling contradictions and issues that were left unresolved. Everything did not make sense right from the beginning. The delayed emergency response. For a long time, witnesses and medical professionals have been questioning the length of time that the ambulance took to bring Diana to the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital. This is because the ambulance took an abnormally long period. Reportedly, the trip, which ought to have been completed in a matter of minutes, took more than an hour. Those who believe in conspiracy theories contend that this delay was not the result of a mistake in the procedure, but rather a purposeful attempt to guarantee that she would not survive. As a result of the incredible rapidity with which the collision site was cleaned, the tunnel was washed down and reopened to traffic within a matter of hours. However, there was a significant amount of evidence that was not found. Several crucial pieces of evidence, such as the Mercedes that was involved in the accident, were handled in a manner that, according to opponents, damaged the inquiry. In addition, important CCTV video from the tunnel's entry and exit unexpectedly disappeared under unknown circumstances. The absence of a crucial witness. Trevor Rees-Jones, Diana's bodyguard, was the only person to survive the collision. He had serious head injuries and claimed to have very little to no recall of the incident. Despite the fact that this quiet is reasonable from a medical standpoint, it has resulted in a gaping hole at the center of the tail that has been filled with supposition. The premonitions of Diana for herself. A voice from the afterlife. Perhaps the most unsettling piece of evidence that supports the inside job argument is the fact that Diana herself is the source of the information. Over the course of the months that preceded her passing, she voiced her deepest concerns over her own safety. I am sitting here at my desk today in October, longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous, she wrote in a letter that has since become famous. The message was sent to her former butler, Paul Burrell, only 10 months before the accident. In order to pave the way for Charles to get married, your name has been redacted, is going to have an accident in my automobile, which will result in the failure of my brakes and a catastrophic head injury. Many people at the time thought that these worries were nothing more than paranoia, or the fears of a lady who was under a great deal of public and private stress. Her statements, however, take on a foreboding and prophetic tone in light of the fact that she has passed away, and that her sons have reportedly confirmed their recognition of her passing. In doing so, they portray a portrait of a woman who was aware of the very real threats that she faced from an institution that she had come to question. Who would want Diana to be dead? What are the reasons for this? Immediately the question arises, who would have had the motivation and the resources to organize the murder of one of the most renowned women in the world? The allegation of an inside job begs this issue. There are a number of strong interests that may have considered Diana as a danger according to the conspiracy theories that have been proposed. A. 1. At the end of the 1990s, Diana was no longer only the estranged wife of the future king. Rather, she had become a strong and autonomous worldwide superstar. This was a significant change for the monarchy and the establishment. It was a direct challenge to the carefully produced image of the monarchy that she gave in her open interview with BBC Panorama in 1995. In that interview, she discussed the difficulties she had in her marriage and questioned whether Prince Charles was suitable to be king. The orthodox British establishment apparently expressed significant anxiety on her increasing friendship with Dodi Fayed, an Egyptian Muslim film mogul. This relationship was reportedly a cause of serious concern. Some people believed that the possibility of the mother of a future king of England marrying a Muslim man and perhaps having other offspring outside of the straight royal line was an unimaginable situation that had the potential to disrupt the monarchy. 2. The intelligence services MI6. Some of the more complex hypotheses suggest that intelligence services from the United Kingdom and even France are involved. The humanitarian work that Diana had done, in particular her high-profile fight against landmines, had resulted in her having to contend with formidable adversaries. Through her actions, she was directly attacking the interests of the international armaments trade, which is a sector that has extensive links to the networks of the government and intelligence agencies. Richard Tomlinson, a former MI6 officer, said that the agency had plans to kill foreign presidents using staged automobile wrecks and strobe lights to disorient drivers, a manner remarkably similar to what several witnesses described witnessing in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Despite the fact that his assertions have been called into question, they have contributed to the legitimacy of the concept of state-sponsored sabotage. 3. The connection between Dodi and Mohammed Al-Fayed. Mohammed Al-Fayed, the millionaire who once owned Harrods, is Dodi's father. For decades, he has been the most vociferous advocate of the murder idea. In his unwavering assertion that his son and Diana were killed by members of the British elite, he has spent millions of dollars on private investigations and legal fights. He has expressly indicated that Prince Philip was the mastermind behind the murders. Since a long time ago, Al-Fayed has been making the assertion that the pair was engaged and that Diana was carrying Dodi's child. Although Operation Paget discovered that this assertion was not supported by evidence, it continues to be a fundamental component of the conspiracy story. The prince's burden, a change in position or attitude. At this point in time, Prince William and Prince Harry have chosen to keep a respectful public quiet on the conspiracy theories. Instead, they have been concentrating on upholding the humanitarian legacy that their mother has left behind. Their sorrow, which was shown on a worldwide platform as two little boys marching behind the coffin of their mother, has been etched into the collective mind of the majority of people. The new claims that they now have their own suspicions on the matter mark a significant change in perspective. For Harry, who has already broken his official links with the monarchy and talked publicly about the institution's shortcomings and its poisonous relationship with the media, such a stance is consistent with his narrative of finding the truth and abandoning a system that he regards as having failed his mother. He is further attacking the same institution that he feels was a contributing factor in her untimely death by recognizing the potential that it was an inside job. Given William's circumstances, the repercussions are much more significant. Due to the fact that he is the heir to the throne, he has always been the epitome of royalty, respectfully adhering to the customs that are associated with the monarchy. An earthquake has occurred as a result of his purportedly calling into doubt the official account of his mother's death. It depicts a guy who is no longer ready to simply accept the institutional version of events, a potential future king who may be prepared to face the most sinister secrets of the system that he is destined to rule. Their claimed posture is not only an attempt to find personal closure. Rather, it is a forceful statement that the truth must be sought for any reason, regardless of how unpleasant it may be. Which is it, the media complicit or a scapegoat? The intricate tapestry that is Diana's life and death is intricately woven with the role that the media played in each of these events. The photographers who had been following her automobile on that tragic night were instantly portrayed as the principal antagonists in the story. The connection that Diana had with the press, on the other hand, was notoriously difficult. She was a master at using the media to build her own narrative and support her causes, but she was also a prisoner of the media. She was persistently harassed in a manner that left her feeling alienated and afraid. The public's perspective of the collision was significantly influenced by the presence of the media in the aftermath of the incident. The tale of a sad accident that was caused by a drunk driver and careless photographers was a straightforward and easy-to-understand narrative that served to divert attention away from more challenging concerns. The role of the media is now being re-examined as a result of the fact that William and Harry are apparently questioning that tale. Did prominent news sources either intentionally or unintentionally contribute to the continuation of a cover-up attempt? Have they been deceived by official sources, or have they been a part of a larger attempt by the establishment to dominate the narrative via their actions? An enduring legacy and questions that have not been answered. A scary re-evaluation of the power dynamic in contemporary society is required as a result of the possibility that Diana's murder was intentionally planned and carried out by members of the establishment. In the event that one of the most cherished and guarded individuals of the 20th century was not secure, then who else could possibly be? This phenomenon gives rise to significant inquiries about accountability privilege and the extent to which powerful institutions may go in order to safeguard their own interests. If these alleged suspicions from the princes turn out to be supported by new material that is reliable, then the clamor for a new inquiry that is conducted independently might become loud enough. It is possible that the first inquests were successful in closing the matter legally, but they were not successful in closing it in the court of public opinion. The reality of what took place in that tunnel in Paris continues to be one of the most perplexing and emotionally distressing mysteries of our time. Diana left behind a legacy that is characterized by compassion, defiance, and a particularly remarkable capacity to relate with regular people. The black cloud of suspicion that lingers over her death is nevertheless a part of that legacy that she leaves behind. It is possible that the courage of her sons to finally face that cloud is the most crucial step that has been taken so far toward discovering the answers that the world has been waiting for more than 25 years as of this moment. The fact that they have done so is evidence of the love that they have for their mother and an indication that they are not yet finished fighting for the truth about her. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.